Hi, and welcome to this week's episode. Today, we're talking about living well and giving back and how to include philanthropy in your financial plan.
The Retirement Readiness Podcast with Tim Reagan and Katie Umland. Presented by Prairie View Wealth and Tax Advisors. Live your 2 life.
Yeah, so philanthropy, it's so funny how people usually kind of go through this whole spectrum of things. It's kind of like sometimes I think about, I don't know if you really knew her. I think she passed away right about the time you're being born, Ann Aggie.
Mm-hmm.
And, so Ann Aggie was our grandpa's sister. So really our great aunt, never married. And Ann Aggie was famous for 2 things. If you had a birthday party, she always brought the brownies, and she put these silver balls on them called dragies. Literally, they're like BBs. Like you would go to eat them like they might look cute. I don't know, but you go to eat them like you chip a tooth. Like I don't know what the purpose was. Maybe it was to keep people from eating your brownies. I don't know, but they're delicious brownies. That, and she always gave you $2 in your birthday card. And so a lot of times when I think about philanthropy, sometimes that can be our story. Where when she started giving $2, probably when mom was a child, $2 maybe meant something.
Yeah.
Now, to be clear, I am so thankful that she gave us $2 because you could ask any one of our cousins about Ann Aggie's birthday card.
Yeah.
They will all tell you she gave you $2.
So sweet.
And if you ask them about her brownies, they'll all say you chipped a tooth on the BB she put on top, right?
It's so sweet.
So those things are great. But I think what happened was she started there, and then she never adjusted as times changed. And we see that a lot with philanthropy. Sometimes people start out in their younger lives when they're working, maybe having kids, and they're being generous. They're kind of being sacrificial givers. But a lot of times that kind of freezes and they don't adjust what their philanthropy capacity is as they age. And that goes both with time, with their talents, with their treasure. You go across the whole spectrum. And so a lot of times you see people that even as they retire, they're like, man, I wonder what I could do. I wish I had a hobby, or what they never think about. Oh, well, I love working with teenagers. What if I went to the Bridge Teen Center and volunteered there a couple times a week? Or I've always liked helping, let's say, kids. And what if I became a CASA volunteer and got involved there? It's like people don't think about what are the ways I can.
You only think about money, donating, or
and even there, like they think about the money they give. Well, yeah, we've always given $2,500 a year to church.
Yeah,
yes,
doesn't mean the same.
In 1975, that was a lot of money. It's still thank you for the gift, but it's maybe not as sacrificial as it was when you started.
Or what? Even not even just that, but like it doesn't have the same impact. Like you think it does. Yeah. Like, oh, your heart is the same size, but you don't realize, like, oh yeah, that's not necessarily what it.
Absolutely. Well, and what happens is as people go through that process of, like, when I say that process, the process of like living and thinking about their financial giving and that kind of stuff, we can all get kind of stuck in a certain way of thinking. And we just get into these routines and these habits, and we don't take the time to take a step back and say, what am I giving this money for? What am I hoping to accomplish with it? Am I living those goals and dreams that I had put out to do? And many times when we hit the retirement period of our lives, it just creates more opportunities to do more things.
And I think you start thinking about it more because you start looking at your money in different ways. You start looking at budget. You start looking at, like, how do I want to spend this money? Where do I want to put it? Where you might not have had that conversation in 20 years. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes people don't start thinking about impact or, like they
legacy
stuff. And I think they live in that kind of bubble, that glass bowl, not thinking they could be the one, right? So like, what about the kids' school? Let's say your kids go to a parochial school, your grandkids do, and you drive through and you notice that the playground is completely dilapidated. And you're like, man, somebody should do something about that.
Right.
But the cost is probably going to be $50,000. You don't have in your mind that you're a $50,000
contributor,
donor.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not every year, but do you have the capacity that we could say, let's give 50 this year and let's help them get the playground? Maybe.
Right.
But people don't get outside of that realm of what they think is possible in lots of parts of their lives. And philanthropy happens to be one of those.
I think it's also like, as you get older, the things you're worried about happening maybe shrink. Like, yes, you have different worries like, oh, my health might decline. What if I need to go into hospice, or what if I need assisted living? But also you're past are my kids going to college? Are my kids getting married?
Yeah. Some of the questions are answered.
Yes. Yeah, so you feel like, okay, I don't have to have so much in savings or for myself, my what ifs. And so now I do feel more free.
100%. Yeah. And sometimes though, what can happen is if we don't connect those dots, all of a sudden the things that could be possible, you're just not doing because you never thought that, oh no, I'm in this place and let me take a pause and be intentional with what I'm doing. The other thing that a lot of times people don't think about is if you're intentional with your charitable giving, you can set up times where you're strategic with it also. So let's say that give you an example.
I feel a QCD coming up.
Oh, hey, look at you! You learned one acronym.
It's the one I know. Don't ask me what it. Oh no, qualified.
We're talking about giving to
charitable distributions.
There you go. It's QCD is one of them. Mm-hmm. But in addition to that, there are times like right now we're working with a client who's getting ready to retire, who has substantial stock options that are going to be accruing to him because they'll vest as a function of him retiring. That means his income this year is going to be many multiples of what it is in a normal year. Well, if that's the case, then if we're strategic, maybe we give a gift this year that is many multiples of what we normally would give. But that gift then is our gift for the next 5 to 10 years or whatever the number is, right? And you don't have to give the gift directly to the charity. There are ways in which you can create what's called a donor advised fund, which allows you to put large sums of money into it. You don't have to spend all the money and give it all away at once. Each year you can advise where you want that money to go. And then if there's money left, you get to name who you want to be the person doling out the money when you're gone. And so a lot of times we'll work with clients to say, what happens if we front load that with a lot of money because you have this big event this year that's happening? Now, every year you can sit down at Christmas when you guys take the Christmas trip with the kids and have them help you decide what charities you want to give to out of the fund. That creates now, it kind of helps pass down what's important to you, helps to help them make decisions about charity, helps them then be prepared when you pass away. They can step into those shoes. It's almost like a foundation for your family. I call it the poor man's foundation. Even though you're not poor if you're doing these.
Yeah, right.
But the idea is that now we can be very strategic and have your charitable giving check more than just one box. It's not just I supported my church this year, which is very important. I don't mean to say just, but it could be I supported my church in a way that was strategic with my taxes, was strategic with me passing on my values to my kids, was strategic in my long-term plan, and just do a little bit more with it.
I know it's not, but it feels a little icky to talk about it like that.
And what part of it feels icky?
It feels like almost dishonest, or like you're not giving for the right reasons.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, and that's where it has to start, right? Because you have to keep in the back of your mind that you will never save more in taxes by giving it away than you would have had by keeping it, right? So if you give away $100, you're going to save $20 in taxes. You'd have been better off just keep your $100, right? So it has to start with, I want to be charitable. Once you say, I want to be charitable and I want to do these things, then let's just see what the best way is for us to be charitable. It's kind of like in my mind, when I start kind of wrestling through that or thinking through that, imagine that the way that you wanted to be charitable was you wanted to buy some things to donate to the angel tree at church at Christmas time, and your limit was $40. Would it feel wrong for you to try to buy things on sale so you get more for your $40?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Right. And no. And so when we look at that, you can look and say, yeah, I'm doing this to try to save on my taxes, let's say, which only means that I created more space for me to give more to the charity that I wanted. I could choose to either pay that money in tax, or I could look at it like I'm buying it on sale And I could give a bigger bang for my buck by giving even more to charity because I was smart about how I did it.
Yeah, that's true. And I think like it just doesn't, when you say like, oh, I'm giving this money to charity, it's almost, okay, this is how it's not the same, but this is kind of what I think about when you're like at Walmart and it says, do you want to round up for, that's great, but they're doing it for the tax write-off. Do you know what I mean? Yep. Like, so that's almost what it feels like to me, where it's like, you want to say, great job, Walmart. But then it's like, they might not have the best of intentions here. Well, but even, I know it's not the same, but it feels
100%
kind of in that realm.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, you have to start with, what am I trying to accomplish? If I'm trying to accomplish giving money to church or giving money to my kid's school or wherever you want to give it, my thought is, if I know what my end goal is, then why would I not try to do it as efficiently as I possibly could?
You're right. No, you're totally right.
Wait, could you say that
you're
again? Right. No, if we can only get Sarah to say that.
It doesn't really mean as much for me.
No. Yeah. And so as we look at that kind of charitable giving and being philanthropic, yes, there are always some benefits that come from doing that. That's not the primary driver. That's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because we want to be charitable. But if we're going to do it, let's be smart about it. One of those being, you had mentioned, those QCDs or qualified charitable distributions. And that's where once somebody's over the age of 70 and a half, they can give money directly out of their IRA to church and never pay tax on it, have it go directly from you to church, and maybe this is a path that helps to like make it feel better to get the tax deduction, if you will. Why do you think the government would do that?
Because they would rather you spend it in some way than hold on to it?
Actually, the reason is because they know it is way more efficient to provide social networks, social, by getting people to give directly. Okay. If the government had to finance that themselves. So if you think about that, let's use that example. If I take $100 and I give it to charity, I'm going to save $20 on my tax return. If the government wanted to get $100 worth of charitable stuff done, they would collect my 20, but have to pay 100. So it's way easier for them to say, cheaper for all of us to say, let's subsidize. Like, it's kind of like a matching gift. You give 80, we'll give 20 type of a thing. And so it's the same thing when you're thinking about how do I maximize my dollars? It's not a dirty word. It is truly the government saying, we want to incentivize you to do this because it's good for everybody. It can be good for you, good for us, good for the recipients of the funds. And so we talk about kind of living that philanthropic life. I think it comes down to identifying and understanding what's important to you. For some people, I give to my church, and there's a sense of pride in my church, sense of giving back to God. But I think also sometimes there's a sense of guilt or a sense of I should, or that's, and so that's one type of giving. Another type of giving, though, is maybe there's something where you see a need or a hurt and you want to make people's lives better because of that, which is really all around humanitarian efforts and that kind of stuff. But then there's other giving that's all about future humanity. Like, what are we investing in medical science and the environment? And so when you sit down and start thinking about your giving, I think we can, if we start shifting our thinking from I give out of obligation or I give because I should, or those things, and really start thinking about I have a part of my budget is some charitable giving because I want to have an impact in this world beyond just what me or my family is doing. I want to try to change some things. Then you can start looking to some other categories that are more aspirational and say, how can I change somebody's life today that's hurting, or how can I make the future a better place by some of that charitable giving?
And I feel like it's an even wider scope than that. Like, it's not just like when I think about philanthropy, yes, normally it's like to organizations, but it's also just like doing good in your life. Like currently one of my philanthropies is paying my niece to vacuum my carpet at home.
Yes.
Is she poor and needy? No. But would she like $15 to vacuum my house?
Yes.
She probably would.
Yes. And would
I like to not have to vacuum my house?
Yes.
Yes, I would.
Yes. Yes. And, I will gladly pay you $15 today to vacuum my carpet tomorrow type thing. Or, yeah. Well, no, you're right. And so it's like, as you look at those things, it really does become part of that broader conversation around what are the things in my life that I value? How do I want to try to spread that? And how do I want to try to effectuate the change that I want to see? And far too often it goes back to kind of living that 2-comma life. So when you're living the 2-comma life, you're able to live in abundance, in freedom, not scarcity. You're able to live in generosity. And what we find is most of the time, the people that are the least happy are the ones that have a scarcity mindset, regardless of how much money they have. Mm-hmm. I just recently read a statistic that said most people think that they need 4 times the amount of money they have to be content. When they get to the 4 times number, it's 6. Still 4 times what they need it to what they have to become content. And so it's never about the money. I mean, it is, but it's never really about the money. It's usually more about internally, where am I feeling? Am I feeling generous? Am I feeling like I'm living in abundance?
I just think like it doesn't always have to be like, when I think of being philanthropic, it's not just limited to church and organizations. I feel like it spreads to different.
Starts at home, right? Charity starts at home.
Yeah. And like shopping local and like spending more money at a local business instead of buying everything on Amazon. Like, is that philanthropic? No, but it also, I feel like but
it's supportive of the community.
Yeah.
It's supportive of your broader.
And I kind of view it broader, I guess, than just.
Yeah. Just writing a check to somebody or
even just time. Mm-hmm. Like.
Yeah. So I think that as you think about that, though, that all goes to how are you using your money to live your values, right? And I think that charitable giving, I write a check to charities, corresponds with I go to church and I volunteer at church.
Right.
Corresponds with I spend my money at the local place. And it all goes to what's the money story that you're telling yourself. And we've got a term that we coined. I came up with it when I was writing the book. I call it the money set. And so, like, if you think about, if I said to you, you have to have the right mindset to do something, you would instantly know that I mean, how are you approaching it? Like, am I ready for the big game? Mm-hmm. How am I preparing to do that? Well, money set is the same thing. It's the way you think about and treat your money. And so there's a charitable money set and that you should kind of have for yourself. And there's a money set that you should have when it comes to what's important to you and how do you live your life. And your money really should support all of the things that are important to you. So
it goes back to I feel like everything always circles back to designing your 2-comma life and what do you want it to look like and how does that all come together?
1,000%. The next 5 years of your life are going to go by whether you want them to or not. And you want to be sitting there saying, I did, or I wish. Right. Yeah. And it's really true that my favorite Bible verse comes from Jeremiah, and it's the one that says, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, give you hope in the future. And when I think about that, I think, if God knows the plans he has for me, how am I living my life into those plans? And am I maximizing those plans? And if he has a plan, shouldn't I?
Right.
Like, if it's important enough for him to say, from the time I knew you, from the time I formed you in your mother's womb, and I have plans for you and plans to give you hope. And like, when I start putting like those things kind of together, it makes me feel like, well, then I should really probably try to be more thoughtful and see how does every part of my life, money included, help me to express my views and my passions. One of which would be being philanthropic with the dollars I've got.
All right, let's end this effing episode.
Yeah. Full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah. So let's end it, right? So I think the key here is when you start thinking about life and transitions, the idea is you're going to come into places where you maybe want to readjust what you're thinking about. It might not be natural. It might feel like you're stepping out of your comfort zone, breaking through, shattering that fishbowl. One of those areas could be your charitable giving. And I believe that if we sat down and did some looking, you may find that you're in a far better position to be charitable and to really let your money set live out.
Yeah.
in lots of ways that you didn't think were possible prior. So
especially as you're preparing to retire and you can set that in part of your numbers that you want to.
100%. Yep. Yeah. And ultimately end up living your legacy, right? And teaching your kids and your grandkids. And this is how you do it. Set the example, let them know it's important to you, all of those things along the way. So.
Right. Well, all your kids are back in the States, right?
They are.
Everybody was kind of.
For a while, for a minute at least. Tim was in Colombia for a while. Andrew and Lily did some traveling. Madeline, however, in the next few weeks is heading to Berlin.
Okay. I couldn't remember if she was there and back or hadn't left yet.
Yeah. So heading there for a little while. So
you guys go to Wisconsin after Berlin or before?
Before.
Okay.
So that'll be a great trip. We've got Sarah and I, talk about being in out of the States. Now that we're going to be empty nesters, I booked 2 weeks in Grand Cayman for February.
Oh, good.
So we're going to try to do a pseudo snowbird. My goal is that we'll spend the month of February somewhere. Now that the kids are out of the house.
Good.
The way
halfway there, 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, we figure we should probably start with 2 weeks, see how that goes before
see if you like each other after 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, we're marginal after 27 years. Tomorrow's our 27th anniversary.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so, it's just how does 2 weeks go, and then we'll work up to it. And with the way that work is today, I can work anywhere. So there's no reason not to try to get out of Dodge for
Alex and I, every single year, we say he works remotely 100% of the time. And we always say we should just rent a house somewhere for a month. You can still work. I can take the kids. We can do everything we do now, but be somewhere nicer.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. So how this whole thing came up for us, like this has been on the radar. This is the plan where we've been wanting to do this. We had a client of ours in the office last fall, and she's telling me, she just got back from Grand Cayman. She was really fortunate. A group of them had been friends since they were in second grade. She's now in her late 70s. This one guy is a dentist, and he bought a place on Grand Cayman years ago, and he invited them all down, and they had a great week. The next week, I'm in the dentist getting my teeth cleaned. And my hygienist is telling me, we've got this dentist here. He's semi-retired, but he's letting me use his place on Grand Cayman. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to stay there. And so I reached out to our client, and I was like, hey, you remember that guy? Is there any chance he'd rent me his? And so fortunately, the place that he's at, they do rent him out. Like that's part of their program. And so he was able to work with us, and we saved a little bit of money, and he was able to get his place rented. And so we're going to do that.
Cool.
Secretly, I'm hoping that we can see, do we like it? I've always thought we'd like to have a place on Grand Cayman. And so we'll see if that's the place or not, but
awesome. Yeah. Oh, good.
So
that's nice to have to look forward to in the dead of winter.
Yeah. And you have Twinskies to look forward to in the dead of winter.
Yeah. Into the dead of summer.
Yeah. So, coming up, right?
Here. Yeah. About a month left.
Which is awesome. Yeah, so no real big travel plans yet.
No travel plans. Zero.
Yeah.
So, we are grounded.
For now.
Yeah.
For now. So, but you're loving the pool this summer?
Yep. Pool's open. The kids love it. Everybody said, oh my goodness, you're going to open the pool this year with the babies coming? Yeah, because the bigs can, it's easy entertainment.
It's called a babysitter.
Yeah. Anybody can come over and be in the pool with them. They'll love it. So
no, that was people used to talk to me and ask us about the expense of putting in the pool and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, if I break that down to an hourly rate, because literally my kids were 7 days a week, sun up to sun down in the pool.
Yeah.
It's like, if you do that, divide that by 4 kids, divide that by all their friends.
Yeah.
8 hours, it's worth it. Outstanding the amount of use we got. So
yeah, I'm hoping since they're growing up with it that that's how they'll be. Yeah. It's part of their
life.
It's what summer is.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Where do they go for more resources?
Okay. Head to pv-wp.com. Thank you.
Be well.
The Retirement Readiness Podcast with Tim Reagan and Katie Umland. Presented by Prairie View Wealth and Tax Advisors. Live your 2-comma life. Learn more at pv-wp.com. And while you're at it, Don't forget to subscribe to the Retirement Readiness Podcast on your preferred podcast platform.